And here we go, the Dave DY Show. My intro music's awesome, isn't it? The free music on the internet. Yay! Yeah, so a lot of stuff every day going on. Stop and think to yourself, on a daily basis, are you engaged with whatever? Your life, the world, your family, your friends, your social, your mental, your physical, your emotional, your financial, your whatever well-being that you have stimulating inputs and outputs such that, if required, you could show the activity, potentially quite a bit of activity where you're engaged. Or do you get up every day? Do you do your same stuff? Do you work out in the morning? Do you meditate? Get ready for work, put your work clothes on, go to work, sit with your coworkers for 10, 12 hours, take your lunch break, maybe go out for lunch, maybe sit at your desk, sit in your office, eat your lunch, take your phone calls, take your WebExes, do whatever that you have to do, take a break for working out in the middle of the day, come home, sit in traffic when you go to work, sit in traffic when you're coming home, take public transportation, read the paper on the train, read the paper in the Uber, whatever, come home, work out, take a break, walk the dog. That's Rika. She is a podcast guest, and being the female, I appreciate her drinking beer. Do you guys ever remember the show with Doug and Bob McKenzie? Doug and Bob McKenzie, the Great White North, they had this skit that turned into the show, and I can't even remember the name because I'm old. And it had Max von Sydow, the deep-voiced guy that was in Flash Gordon. And they were two idiots that were trying to get free beer. And ultimately, they had to stop his plot of taking over the world through beer. But they had a dog, and I can't remember the dog's name at this moment, but they give the dog beer. Oh, crap. And the dog could fly, and just wonderful stuff. Speaking of dogs, pets are awesome. We have a huge affinity for dogs or cats, and dogs are special, and she's the greatest dog that I've ever had. We've primarily only owned Rottweilers. My father owned a Rottweiler named Mikey, or Mike, when he was a kid and lived in upstate New York. When everyone left and he started to lose his mind, probably in his 50s and 60s, into the 70s, he got another Rottweiler. And he named it Mike, and he walked it around the backyard and down to the falls and whatnot. And it was a blockhead, had the big blocky head. She is not a blockhead. She's got more of the pointy snout, and she's got the brown markings. Her father, Loki, she came from a breeder in South Colorado. Her father was 140 pounds, had the blockhead and the black face. Almost like a demon dog. You can see the mysticism. Just a very intimidating animal. Beautiful animal. But we've only owned females. They seem to be more gentle. She is probably a 3-year-old in mentality and interpretation and understanding. She has different inflections in her voice. People that don't think that animals have souls, and that because of your religious belief, whatever the hell, your cultural belief, that animal doesn't have as much right on the planet as you do, and that it doesn't do as much as you do. It's not a higher order thinking. What a load of crap. I don't know what you've looked at. I don't know how these doctors, I don't know how people don't understand evolution. When you look at the freaking monkeys, and you look at that dog, and that dog's got character traits of a 3-year-old. She walks around, she looks, it's instinctual. You're an idiot. The way she interacts, what she's changed, how she deals with our family, how she can sense any type of emotion, any discourse, you raise voices, anything. And it changes her entire posture. Yeah, she's extraordinary. The best animal we've ever owned. We only put her through like about a 3 or maybe a 6-class instructional dog class when she was small. Not like one of the 12-weekers where they really go through obedience training, because we saw so much character in her, so much beauty and love, and she was so cool. Saw her at 4 weeks old, earliest. She was a furry puffball, still had all of her baby hair. Saw her at like 8 weeks old, saw her at 12 weeks old, picked her up at like maybe 15, 14, 15, went down 3 or 4 times to some dude in South Colorado, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, that bred them, and it was an oops litter, and she was awesome. And she's extraordinary. And we saw that immediately. Tracy saw it immediately. I didn't per se like her because I've never been an animal person. It's not me, man. They take work and love and affection, and I had a Chihuahua, and that thing was easy, and I still take care of stuff because it's not right not to have an animal and not care for the animal. But I mean, I'm like the old man, and it's the genetics. I have not been good raising children. I've not been good in relationships. I have an innate ability to retract in, disappear, fuck everyone, But I'll tell you, I know, and I have been my whole life, my best friend. I know how to make myself happy. I read, I was alone a lot. I'm perfectly fine alone. And what you have to do, well, you're good at that stuff. You have to expand outward. Take your A-type personality or whatever it is and become different. Change your behaviors. And it's hard, man. Change is fucking hard. And so many times you relapse because that's human. You find your comfort zone and you have coping mechanisms. But my adult life, Tracy's helped me. My younger years, my first wife, she was cool, but hell, I didn't even know what I was or who I was. Second wife, whatever. And I've got wonderful kids or whatnot, but I'm not a nurturing parental type, and my father wasn't. My father was a good instructional parent. He sort of showed love. His whole family was that way. His sister, my Aunt Pat, would bang on the door and leave Christmas presents. And you would go to the door. Maybe it was snowing out. Maybe it was warm in December. Maybe it was frigid. And you'd see her bundled or just in her, winter coat walking back down the sidewalk. Weird stuff. The thought is there, but the choice to interact is not. It's easier not to have to sit and spend time. Whereas my father's, George King, my father's uncle, which is my great uncle, Uncle Georgie, he came over and socialized. The Kings all seem to have social skills. He's the only one I ever met. Everybody on Dad's side was old and dead. Didn't meet a lot of them. But George was awesome. He rode a tricycle around. He delivered bread for DiCamillo's Bakery. Always came over whitey. He had terrible eyesight. Loved baseball. He'd sit and have a couple beers, have a shot of whiskey. During, coming home from work, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever. Maybe at lunch. Come over on a Saturday. He got married late in life. A beautiful wife. Yeah, weird. So it's in the family to, be social, but yeah, I've got the traits where it wasn't. I'm not very social. I'm not very, and you got to train yourself to remove that, to see those signs, those triggers, and go, no, suppress it and do whatever you got to do. And then move into whatever you're doing. And usually if it's socially interactive, if it's in crowded areas, if it's activities with other people's, it's so quick that you get into that and you're overtaken. You're not even paying attention anymore. You're enjoying it. You're walking around. You're shopping. You're playing. You're doing whatever that interaction is. You're having discussions. But man, can those human behaviors stop that and hold you a prisoner? Whew. But she's still the greatest dog that I've ever found. She's awesome. We didn't give her all that training so that we locked out her personality, and she's got an extraordinary personality. She bunkers and digs in the sand or the dirt. She chews and smells like wood and earth. She's really unique with that, has done it her whole life. And she's been some glue for the family. Awesome living being. And not just a dog. Classified as a dog like we're classified as people, but she's extraordinary. And again, I say it's silly. The Bible says they die and they don't go to heaven and they don't have spirits and they don't... And you're stupid. Who the hell figured that out? What retard stated that? That thing, she's awesome. You see how she acts and her personality, and then her instinctual triggers, and when you tell her no. And then how she backs off and looks at you and you're like, and then she'll be like, well, maybe I could bark. Like a 3-year-old. Deal with a little kid. But I digress. All kinds of crazy crap in the elections, man. Florida down here. A lot of red winners, though Donna Shalala won. Down in whatever, Broward, Miami-Dade. Donna Shalala was in the Clinton administration. She's old as dust now. Yeah, she sounds like she's still coherent and excited to be a freshman in the, House or the Senate, whatever, at 70 plus years of age. I think a decade ago, 20 years ago, maybe, whenever Clinton was in office and I was in D.C., I think I went somewhere at the end of the Clinton era and she was in a one-person monologue, a play at a church or something, speaking, and I went to that and it was almost like a comedy thing, or it wasn't inspirational, it was more like a theatrical up in Chevy Chase or somewhere in, South Maryland, North D.C. Weird. And here she's back in government. I don't know. Some people don't escape it. Maybe that's all they know. Maybe they feel like they're going to contribute the most. Nelson down here, the guy, he's ancient. Age has nothing to do with it, but clearly you can see he doesn't have the gusto, the energy. And again, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe he accomplishes as much as anybody else does, but you compare that to Rick Scott, and Scott's given his speeches all the time, his emergency response speeches for hurricanes. He does it in English, then does it in Spanish. He's from here. He's from sort of a broken family, or, single mom or whatever, that was, relatively upper low class or low middle class, not a lot. And the guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars in his workings with the government, outside of the government. You can call it corruption. I think it's, they always calls that, when I grew up, business acumen. The guy was smart. Trump. And did Trump have some benefits being from an affluent family? Of course. Did Rick Scott probably have to work harder? Maybe. But clearly the guy is a rounded individual that has ethics and morals, that has conscience, and has done well in life. Has his family up there. He looks genuine. He thanked people in his committee and his party. He thanked people that got him reelected. He looked very, very, emotional, but thankful. And who doesn't? But then you had this Gillum clown, right? And DeSantis. By the way, masked one. Lauren Bear. Give me a break. And it's I don't want to be controversial, but you get this well-off, elitist individual, and I don't know what kind of struggle or strife they've had in their family, and maybe they worked really, really, and they continue to work really, really hard. I don't think that's the right person nowadays to go to Congress and represent people. And I only say that because that type of individual that's successful, that doesn't have to worry about bills, that doesn't have to worry about medical coverage, that doesn't have to worry about their own welfare, that doesn't have to worry about their entertainment, that really has no worries other than however their life lessons and the skill set that they have to be a good person. And that's a challenge to anyone, regardless of socioeconomic, religious, racial components, cultural, whatever. You can be a billionaire or a homeless person that's an asshole or gold, right? Like that dude that gave the woman who ran out of gas his $20 that he panhandled or he had. That homeless dude. So she goes out and creates the GoFundMe page with her boyfriend or whatever. The guy's a veteran, right? He's down on his luck. He's hard street living, whatever. And they raise like $200,000-$300,000, and then they don't give it to him. This young idiot couple, and it's all a big deal and huge news and media crap. How beautiful. And then it turns into this litigatory, the lawyers, and then they didn't give him his money. We're not giving him his money. He's a drug addict. We're going to manage this. We're going to fix him. People got to figure this out. You ain't going to fix or change nobody. No one. I'm not going to fix you, and I'm not going to change you, and I don't know why. No one understands that. It's like a human, we're compelled. I'm going to fix you and I'm going to change you. The only person that fixes anyone is themselves. The only person that changes anyone is themselves. And these people are compelled to become these, guardian angel, social warrior, whatever. You raise that money, give the money to the dude. Good God, you did something awesome for this dude after he did something awesome for you. Get the hell out of his hair. He doesn't need your parenting, your mentorship. He doesn't need shit. He's made those choices. He's probably thankful for it. Maybe he'll reflect on some stuff, and clearly he's some kind of addict and he's got some deep-seated issues that maybe he'll address and maybe he won't. But you made him $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Let him have his money and let him roll. Maybe he'll smoke it all or shoot it all up, or maybe he'll give it away. What the fuck are you to say? It's not, it comes with these stipulations. Stipulations. How about this? You address your own crap. Oh, and you don't take the money that you raised. We can get a new car, upgrade our apartment, buy some furniture, order some stuff online. You crappy assholes. Well, we did the work. I was the focal point for this GoFundMe. That epitomizes the world nowadays. Why wouldn't I take? Why am I not entitled to have what we worked hard to raise for this guy? What? Everybody's entitled anymore, and no one's responsible for themselves, and everybody's got an opinion, and nobody's wrong, and nobody's a loser. Dude, come on. Come back to the fundamentals. So, whatever. Got a little kooky there. Stuff's over. Florida went red primarily. Scott won, but Nelson's I'm asking for a recount. I think he beat him by 30, 40, 50,000 votes. This idiotic recount crap, and I get it. Let's be accurate. But, dude, when you look at what the size and scope of these elections are, especially this one that was on the realm of a presidential election, as I stated earlier, in other casts or whatever, this was a record midterm. It was like a presidential election. I think Nelson got 4 million something and Scott got 4 million something with 30,000 delta. So you had 8.5 million people vote. Florida's got 21 million people in it. There's 13 million registered voters. That means, 5-6 million people didn't vote for this election, right? And that doesn't include the 1 million approximate adult felons that are eligible voters if they didn't have a felony, which just passed as one of the amendments. Now they will be eligible as long as you're not a murderer or whatever, your worst offense. More stipulations for us to try to govern. But you know what? No. And let everybody vote. You don't even need a voter card. Do you want to vote? Vote. You don't need an ID card. Oh, you don't need to be a citizen. Oh, yeah. You're in the poll. Vote. Okay, great. These complexities and then this ideal crap where everybody's voice. How do you input everybody's voice? How do you track everybody's voice? Yesterday or day before, every Uber was given free rides to the polling places, which is awesome. Public transportation was free, other than you couldn't get the ride home. You could take the light rail or whatever down here to your polling place, and then you had to pay for your ride home. That's epic. That is cool as crap. And yet Gillum still lost. Mr. Playboy, South Florida, the face of the new movement, and not a blue wave or whatever, which is good. Still lost, and he lost because of his FBI investigation and the choice of his friendships. I don't know. I saw some of the stuff that he was purporting to accomplish in Tallahassee. I saw some of the agenda that he wanted to input. And you know what? The mill tax passed, so more money's going to schools. I'll tell you what, this state has probably one of the worst. It's at the bottom quarter at the bottom 10th of the schooling systems in the country. 20 years behind. Just like the government, state and local government. Everything about this place is behind. For having 21 million people, the third largest state in the union, ahead of New York, behind Texas, behind California. Man, is this place back-assed. And it's weird. And, I oppose more tax to put into schools, and I sat here and I'm like, maybe they're going to do another mill tax, which is going to raise $200 million a year or whatever, billions of dollars in 10 years. Maybe some of that will get to the schools. Maybe some of the kids will do better. Right now, if you want an education down here that's better, that's really good, that makes you a constructive, contributing adult, you pretty much have to pay for it. It's got to be private. The public schooling system, even here in Palm Beach, which I think is some of the best in Florida, is horrible, man. It's horrible. I got an 8th grader right now, doesn't do homework. There's no textbooks left. They got these online, student information services portal. And then you got your ed, and one of them was 20 years old, Edline. And now they moved to this SIS. And I've got a friend that I know who's in the technology for the school systems. And, they're way behind. And it's because you've got millions of freaking kids. There's a ton of schools. 300, 400, 500 schools in Palm Beach, man. And, a lot of the people down here can't afford the lunches. It's a tough environment. There's a lot of squalor and poverty, per se, in sections down here. Schooling's not a priority. And unfortunately, I think if we're ever going to bring this country back forward, back ahead, how do you like that? The fundamental structure that has to be addressed is youth, and it's got to be schooling as a key component. And everybody said this and nobody talks about it anymore, with the demise of the nuclear family or whatever, where you have a mother and a father and then you have some structure and you're held accountable. And there's schedules and components in place, whether it's scholastics or whether it's athletics or whether it's entertainment, right? And then you have ethics and morals that are tied to that. All these pieces formulated a person, an adult, a adolescent that turned into an adult that had the components in place to be contributing. And when you chop huge chunks of one of those or multiples, what do you expect? What are you going to get? It's less likely you're going to have an individual that's a successful adult. Successful? What's successful? It's that you're happy. Happiness is a piece of it. Everybody wants to be happy. Happy is very, very generic. Some people are happy sitting alone in a corner. Other people are happy when they're active. Other people are happy when they're shopping. Other people are happy when they're producing. They're working hard. They're on their cell phone. But productive, where you're contributing, you're working, you're involved, you're engaged, you're social. And all the components that come out of that, and they can be any, where you're receiving a paycheck, you're providing a service, you're providing a good, you're on a schedule, you're reliable, you're caring, you're concerned. Even if you're a miscreant, you still have the majority of those components. You pay your taxes. Once in a while, you're going to run into a Ted Bundy or whatever, right? A Dahmer. He's a very quiet neighbor. Never had a problem with him. Who would have thought he was eating people? That shit happens. But nowadays, it's like, dude, people struggle in every venue, and we medicate. Give them Ritalin, and give them, they need to be calmed down, and they need to find a center. And man, oh man, if the manufactured drugs, manufactured meaning they're chemically produced, right, in a chemical process, opioids, they screw your system up so bad. Dude, we have the pharmaceuticals, and I get it. You want to help people. You want to reduce pain. You want to have people be able to cope better. It's what we've always tried. But the major drug companies pushing these opioids, there's better solutions. And it's weird how things are class 1 drug, a schedule 1 drug, CBD or THC. Psychotropic drugs are something different. They affect your ability. They give you hallucinations, and I understand that. I get it. There's a purpose for that, but CBD, and again, you got to do the studies on it. It's plant-based from hemp, and everybody purported gains from it, right? Well, do some studies like you've done with the multi-million-dollar, 10,000 patient studies for every damn drug that you can get now. Xanax and Vicodin and God bless, there's like 50 of them. Oxycodone and Oxycontin, Percocet. Shitballs, dude. CBD. Now you're talking voodoo. Plant-based stuff has been around since the beginning of time. The tribes in the Amazon, the tribes in Africa, the Native Americans in this country, the Native Americans and the tribes in Mexico, and they tied some of it to mysticism like peyote or whatever, and that's one aspect of it, but you still have other aspects for ailments, for cuts. You chew up stuff, you boil stuff, how can you not investigate that and give it some credence? And, oh my God, the polarization. I don't get the drug issues in this country, man. They're brutal. And how badly, it takes a village, and Reagan with his war on drugs. Oof. And the way that we totally tried to dismantle Central America, Colombia, and we sent billions of dollars, and we sent military forces and weapons down there. And it's happening again with all the cartels in Mexico. The Sinaloa and all these cats that are cutting heads, dude. They're owning that country. Juarez and Hermosillo and Apodaca and, some of the nice areas like Puerto Vallarta or Cancun. You're finding bodies and heads. I don't know if you've ever been to Mexico. You get off in Cancun and you got to take rides from the airport to the, 50 miles, 10 miles to wherever the resorts are. You're in no man's land, dude. Maybe in a car that's not really a car. It's a 3-wheeler that you're jammed in. Pardon interruption. And it goes like 30 miles an hour on some things that they call freeways, right? With litter and burned out shells of whatever. Dude, there's no law and there's no protection. And when you're rolling around there, anything can happen. So, it's brutal. This whole ongoing drug thing, we definitely haven't solved it. Maybe we should legalize it, tax it all. Alcohol, I don't know how we didn't learn from alcohol. Years of prohibition. You had kids that were running around, turned into stock car racing, right? With Richard Petty, he was doing white lightning runs. What's different? We did that shit for decades. We're doing the same crap with drugs. They're still coming into Port of Miami, probably one of the biggest joints for letting drugs, human trafficking into this freaking country. Millions and millions, right? Insane. But, drugs are bad. Everything's bad. Getting in your car's bad. And if my kid's driving, watch yourself. He's getting better, but boy, it brings you back to realize, ooh, you know what? After a lifetime of driving, you remember, you've gotten that 2,000-pound vehicle, and it's sort of foreign. You're working crap with your feet, and maybe you got a stick shift or not, but you got to put it in, and then you got this wheel. Whew. Let's get Musk or whatever, Google. Let's get that smart driving crap out there. iRobot. Jump in like Will Smith. It takes you around. There's no manual override. Like, I'm taking over. Warning. You're taking manual. Nah, dude. That'll save the world a lot. All the people dying on the roads every day. So, the elections, yeah, they're done. Florida stayed red. They passed the termination of dog racing. No more greyhound races down here. Oh well. My dad told me, you know what? When the government starts to infringe on what you can and cannot do, it's a slippery slope. After a while, those infringements become larger and larger. You can't climb into a vehicle without putting a safety belt on. If you do so, one of our enforcement officers that are responsible for enforcing the law has the ability to pull you over, reprimand you, fine you, and put you into a course of action that, is unfavorable. Visiting a court, paying fines, possibly serving time, losing your license, impacts your life. But what's the difference, right? Or what's the opposite? You drive around without your seatbelt on, you have a fender bender, your head hits the windshield, you're dead, so all your medical costs go up. So due to a percentage of drivers who, for some reason or another, skill, experience, serendipity, accident, have a negative effect on the driving environment, the community, the roads, the pedestrians on those roads. We modify the law so that it more appropriately manages that contingent of negative drivers. But all drivers have to abide by it. Well, if you were a driver that didn't have a problem, now you just need to do this also. And since you're a model driver, it's not much of a stretch. Just click your belt on. Or we'll make a car that has the belt, or whatever. It's another thing that has to occur for you to perform driving, to be able to drive. And after a while, those things line up, man. They keep stacking. And the government's controlling how you drive, where you drive, who drives you, how you actually pursue that ability to drive. Everything about it, the taxation, the cost benefits from that drive, everything. And it becomes muddled in bureaucracy. And this machine now has a life of its own, because for the machine to run, it's got all these gears, man. Before you know it, it's a tough spot to drive. You come down here, dude, anybody's driving. This 95 corridor is probably the deadliest in the country. You get in the car, make a couple turns, I think they're like, hey, you pass. You speak English? No hablo. You pass. I mean, you put the key in, boop, you pass. It's weird. Florida's about 20 years behind, it feels like. But, again, how far do we go? So there's no dog racing. It's going to go away. I'm sure that's going to adjust a ton. But I'm not sure of the law. Maybe our Seminole friends, where you can gamble on their freaking land outside of the governance of the federal government or the state government, they'll put some ovals up and you'll have some Indian dog racing. Why not? Make some money there. Right. Reference me. Give me the shout out. Call me. I'll take 0.25%. 1 point. 1 point on the income. So I'm sure that'll happen. If you want to go to a dog race, or maybe highlight, the ball goes too fast. So you're going to injure people. They had an old glass thing. The ball shot out, hurt people in the fans. We should ban highlight. Dangerous. Years ago, that was accepted. Nowadays, no, it's too aggressive. What? Okay, so no highlight. Maybe that's what's next. The felons can vote. The mill tax was passed. We're going to have $200 million a year for the schools and the sheriffs, whatever. I think every amendment down here passed, but the first one, which was for an increase in the homestead exemption. So if you're down here and you live here, you're not a vacationer with a second house, you get a credit that applies to you staying in Florida, living in this house, as opposed to renting it out or not renting it or habitating it at all, right? So you got an empty house down here for 5 months of the year. We'll give you a credit for that because you actually live here. So, we're not going to tax the entire value of the home. You take a $25,000, $50,000 credit or whatever. Well, hey, let's make that larger. Seems like the home prices are going back up, everything. No, it didn't meet 60%. That didn't pass. So that's super. But everything else passed. So there's going to be, a lot of new sweeping changes. Some of it was rote. It was just changes to constitutions, state constitutions that had old language in it. One of them was offshore drilling, and they threw stuff like vaping in it. And now that's all banned. You can't vape in public places or private, establishments or something. And you can't offshore drill. So, I don't know. So, the election was pretty potent. Seems like the Dems took the House, 34 plus or whatever. 3 plus for the Republicans in the Senate. Cruz won. He beat Beto, O'Rourke. $66 million raised. That dude raised $66 million. It was a $100 million campaign. If you talk to people, they said the dark money for the Republicans and everybody in Texas, hundreds of millions of dollars for 4 million votes or whatever. It's so messed up. Brian Mast beat Lauren Bear down here. Brian Mast had something like 190,000 votes. Lauren Bear had something like 150. Beat her by 4 points, 54% to 46%. They had to have spent millions of dollars on those campaigns for the votes of 180,000 people, or all total 300,000 people. $7 million to get elected. Dude, this machine is jacked. And I don't think we'll ever see that kind of reform. If you couldn't produce any kind of media, electronic or paper or whatever, that would push your crap agenda, which newspapers did in op-eds. They had opinions and editorials, right? And we put that money somewhere else. With all these lobbyists and all this crap that goes on, the machine has become unmanageable. Yeah, it's sort of weird. Sort of scary and sort of sad. That's what it takes. But, it is what it is. So that's over. We'll have to see how this goes now with the House run by the Dems. Nancy Pelosi took her little gavel, the crazy old brown. Wait, what? Stutters and says stuff and goes into a little attack and then comes back. So I'm sure that more changes and more controversy will come from that, and maybe some good stuff. They've stated some of the big topics, right? They're going to work on things that they can be bipartisan on. It's not going to be health care. It's not going to be immigration. Maybe it'll be taxes. Maybe it'll be the debt. Our debt's in the trillions right now. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe nothing will happen. Less than what has happened when the freaking Republicans own the entire government. Holidays are coming up. They're projecting that Thanksgiving travel will be record travel. Beware. Plan accordingly. Be safe. Enjoy the family. Have fun. The holiday season for spending is being touted as going to be a record $1 trillion spend. Trillion? Can't be a trillion. I don't know what it was. Something big, maybe $1 billion. I don't know. For the holiday season spend. $1 billion sounds more like it. Trillion. I got trillion on the head. But it's going to be a record. We're going to spend more on this holiday season in November, December. Black Friday, early, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, holidays, New Year's, than we ever have in history. And it's great. And there's going to be some strange stuff with Black Friday sales. Some of the big box stores or whatever are not going to be open. And there's lists of them. I think I've seen them a week ago or a couple weeks ago. So Best Buy and, whatever. What are the big ones? Best Buy and Walmart and I don't know. I think they're going to be fine. Uh-oh, killer dog's getting somebody. But some of the stores will not be open. So check those, because they're not going to have sales. You're not going to be able to get up at 1 in the morning, go out and stand in line until they open the doors, storm in, get in a fight with somebody over a Cabbage Patch Kid, punch him out, sit in a cell next to Alec Baldwin, punch somebody out for, taking his parking spot because he was trying to get in there and get the Rainbow Cabbage Patch pony, right? Because he knew his friend makes Cabbage Patch. He said, Alex, buy this thing. Get 10 of them. They're going to be worth $50,000 each. Insider info. Whatever. Alec. So, check that. By the way, don't tune in Sunday night for the Alec Baldwin talk show. Gone. Yeah, I think they've moved it to Saturday morning. He's going to be running against the cartoons because he stinks. Yeah, it wasn't carrying the ratings or whatnot. They're not going to tape any new episodes. They finished taping. It's going to run out on Saturdays and then go away. I'll tell you what, dude. I love Alec Baldwin. Remember Hunt for October? Whew, he was awesome. Ryan. He's in there. He said, hey, go back there and find the cook. It's trying to blow up the ship. Dude, me? I'm an analyst. What are you talking about? Brings the gun back there and does his Sean Connery impression. Ryan, be careful. Most things don't do well with bullets. Yeah. Then he shoots up, gets in the fight, gets some fluid from one of the lines in his face. Gunshots. You got nuclear missiles. I'm like, holy shit. Fine Clancy movie, Hunt for Red October. Ooh, I recall watching that. I didn't read the book. Went into that baby and I was like, man, is that awesome. And then, maybe 2 or 3 years later, with my first wife, father was a commander in the Navy, in charge of the North Atlantic subfleet. So out of Norfolk, not Groton, not up north, but Norfolk, and Dam Neck, and all of the naval stations down there in Virginia, the naval shipyard, got to experience some cool stuff. An attack sub out of water in dry dock. And apparently the screws on the subs for how it concatenates and your sonar and the noise, those things were like international espionage die for with Putin and his spooks kind of information. And I guess, based on the shape, you could determine exactly what type of class sub it was and all that crap. So they didn't show sub screws. We saw that, and then got to climb on board the USS Jimmy Carter, which at the time was the newest nuclear fast attack submarine. And I can't remember, Typhoon class or whatever. I don't remember what the class was. This thing had vertical and horizontal launch tubes. Roll right up outside of Russia and spew 24 nuclear warheads. Right over Gdansk and Murmansk and Moscow and Stalingrad and right out to the Cosmodrome or whatever. Smoke everybody. Woo! And look through the up periscope with the super cool optics on that thing. Can't look at the sun or anything. The optics were like, also cutting edge, super secret technology. And when I got on board that thing, dude, it was like this. And I was like, you gotta be joking. I just watched The Hunt for October, bro. And her old man, he goes, yeah, that's a movie, dude. He goes, those are sets. That's not a real submarine. There is no space on those. Those cats, they climb on board those submarines and go under polar ice caps and live on that for 6 months and go up to get air every 2 weeks and maybe you don't see sunlight for 30 days. Those sub dudes are freaks. you got to be a freak. And I get it. You know, most young people probably could do that. But the recycled air, their nuclear power, the plant in the back that powers those screws, that's all super secret stuff. That's why they call the subdudes nukes. You get your degree, you learn how that power plant works. Man, those things are sick. Submarines are insane. What idiot was like, listen, I'm going to make this metal tube. We're going to climb on it, go underwater, sneak up. And it wasn't metal, right? It was probably wood back then. Wood doesn't sink, it sort of floats. Let's put some big-ass rocks on it. Submarine! What are you doing? It's insane. And that thing was awesome. They would take the areas where you walked in the submarine when you climbed down the ladder to get on board, and then you walked around to your mess, to the sleeping areas, the berth areas, the command centers, the bridge or whatever. They would pull the floors up and they would turn into the launch tubes. Like, everybody's at battle station. You don't need to be walking on any of that stuff anymore. That's how we're gonna launch doom and gloom. Crazy ass shit, dude. But man, it was that big. And then I said, well, where does the commander, or the captain of the sub, where are they? So it's cool as hell, because they had just commissioned the thing. We took a full tour. We saw the mess where they ate or whatever. We went to like the barrack area, the sleeping area on board the ship, and his office, the commander's office or whatever, it was like against a bulkhead. There was a triangle. I'm like, oh my god, and this was luxury, So it's realism. That stuff's crazy. I mean, we don't understand that. Hollywood's so full of crap. Hollywood. All I remember was Matthew McConaughey. I could have been a lawyer, maybe an astronaut or something in life. My parents always thought that you're full of shit. Those people actually earn that. It's really hard. Rick Nelson, even though he was 100, with this little ad he had on a TV down here. Wow, when I was on board the shuttle and we rose up past that launch pad and we got out into space, I looked back down on Earth. I realized there ain't borders. It ain't about people of color or race or creed or culture. We're all one. Dude, that guy's got some shiz, man. Can't be a freaking NASA astronaut if you don't have the shiz. You're on board a bomb shooting to space. But Hollywood, yeah, Matthew McConaughey could have been president. Ronald Reagan or Arnold. Arnold could never be president, right? He wasn't born here. But he was the governor. I'll be back. Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then you look at the things and you're pumping the iron and the iron makes you huge and you're like, I'm beautiful. Dude, I love Arnold. And I don't know, maybe he would have been a good president. Probably as good as Trump. Even though he'd have been like Clinton, he'd have been banging all the interns. Dude! But he'd have been with like the Kennedys. Hung out with Ted, because Maria, and maybe it would have been awesome. Yeah, it can't happen. Legally impossible. So the elections are over. I think there's still a challenge in Atlanta for the gal, first African American gal. The transgender gentleman who was running, he lost. What's her name? Ocasio-Cortez or whatever in New York. She won. 29 years old. She's going to be the youngest female in Congress. Bam! I think a lot of women won, which is cool. Shifting it and, mixing it up, man. I always used to say that. It's a bunch of old white dudes in Congress. Fuck, fix it! Fix it! And the people that came out for this election was awesome. The thing that you can't have happen, which always does, all the media dies down, the billions of dollars being spent, everybody in your face, right? All goes away and people go back to living. Oh yeah, time to make the donuts. You get up and shuffle away, right? It's hard to keep up that momentum. The blue wave changes. But we'll see. Probably get back to the gridlock and the grind that government normally is. But I think the markets took a tip up today, which is good. Wasn't sure after the election, and they ticked up, so that was pretty good. What else is going on? As I said, there's some stuff with the holiday season and travel and whatnot, so that's good. how busy it's going to be. Be safe, enjoy your families, all that jazz. I don't know. What are the other components in the news? Zuckerberg, yeah, whoop. Facebook, watchdogging, yeah, who cares? Google, Alec Baldwin, yeah, he got bumped to Saturday. He's going to be on the Cartoon Network with his talk show, idiot. I think his Saturday Night Live run is over. So, as Trump, you're fired! You're fired! That's the way it's landed. I haven't seen any new news other than that, and it's been real. Talk to y'all soon. Out.